All right, my second read here is going to be Colorado and Oregon. And before we get into analyzing the game, which I find utterly fascinating from a quarterback standpoint, offensive scheme standpoint, it's just going to be a lot of fun. 3-touchdown underdog Colorado. Doubt them at your peril. I think we have to address the Colorado State decision to not go for two in the first overtime when they have the chance to win it, knowing full well what the rules of the game are in the very next overtime. And I got to point this out. ESPN, 9.3 million viewers for a Colorado Pac-12 Mountain West game. Pac-12 Mountain West game, 9.3 million viewers, the most streamed football game in the history of ESPN or ABC. I want to say it's a top 5 cable game of all time, and it started at 10:20 p.m. Eastern time. We've said a lot of words about Deion Sanders, both good and with some questions. You cannot argue the impact of his gravitational force. It is astonishing. It is unprecedented what he is doing from an interest standpoint in Colorado.
No question. I mean, we talked about it in the preseason. They were going to be must-see television every week. Number one, for Deion. Number two, just to see how the roster and team evolved during the year. Turns out that they're much better than we thought 3 weeks into the season. I mean, every game has been interesting. I mean, TCU was close. Colorado State was close. Nebraska in the first half was close, and it was the kind of reunion of old rivals. So
are they really good? They're much better than we thought, but are they really good? You need a double overtime to beat Colorado State and a dumb decision by Jay Norvell.
All right,
and now you're a 3-touchdown underdog. Are you?
I think Jay Norvell is a very good coach. He made 2 mistakes late in the game.
Brutal.
The first is you mentioned going for 2. The second one, they punted the ball on that 4th down to give Colorado the ball back, and then Colorado went down and scored.
Yeah.
4th down, you just need a couple yards, in the way that they were running that same play, the shallow crossers over. Do it again and get the yards and win the game. So Jay Norvell, I thought he played. Yeah.
The data analytics are not happy with Jay Norvell in that game for sure. Again, if you are in overtime, I don't know if people know this, but by the second overtime, you are required by football rules to go for 2. So if you have the game in your hands to win the entire thing against your arch rival as a 23.5-point underdog, and you're going to have to go for 2 on the very next possession anyway, take your shot, dude. What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, it's very frustrating to watch that game. And I'm not trying to root against Colorado. I just hate it when coaches make bad analytical decisions in general across the board. It bothers me.
Looks like
Yep. 3, 2, 1. One final note before we get to the prediction on the game here, Steven. We'll get to bets against the spread, of course, and some other random news and notes from around college football heading into week 4. Quickly, the Henry Blackburn hit on Travis Hunter. I don't know what his status is going to be in terms of obviously a lot of usage by a player who's very, very fun to watch. Look, death threats here, guys. Like this is part of the concern about Deion. I'm not suggesting Deion condoning any of this behavior. That's not what I'm saying. But you can see how they react on the sideline. It was a late hit. It was an illegal hit. It should have been a penalty. He didn't go for the head. He wasn't going to try to decapitate this guy the way a million other college athletes have. It was an illegal hit. It got flagged. This young player for Colorado State should not be getting death threats. The police should not be having to look into death threats because Travis Hunter was hit late on a pass. It was a bad hit. It was a bad play. But it wasn't malicious. He hit him in the ribs. He didn't go at the head. He didn't go at his knees, which are the 2 places, if you're a player, you don't want to get hit. What are we doing? What are we doing here, Colorado? Come on, y'all.
I mean, unfortunately, football is a very violent game, and there are going to be hits like this. And I'm not condoning the hit at all that he did. I mean, like you said, it was clearly late. It should have been flagged for it. But to threaten people over social media, like Deion actually had the best response to it all.
Oh, of course he did.
I mean, it's just saying that, hey, look, it's a game. No one should be threatened by it. So, I mean, credit to Coach Prime.
Will you stop calling him that, for the love of God? His name is Deion Sanders.
I know it annoys you. That's why I did it.
I know. Oh, I'm so glad that Deion Sanders shockingly made this about him. He sends the right message, I suppose. But you could see the sideline react right away. Like they look like they're going to come off the sideline and brawl like right away when it happened. Like in the second quarter.
Also, it was a rivalry game. Their emotions were already high during the week. It was personal and all of that. So I'm not surprised that it was a little chippy. Some of but the late hit was, I mean, it was uncalled for clearly.
Well,
but
didn't Travis
the reaction is uncalled for.
The reaction is what matters to me from Travis Hunter. Didn't Travis Hunter basically say like, yeah, he did his job, like he did what he was supposed to do? Yeah. Right. Like you can't be more offended than the victim in this world, in this country. You just can't be. If Travis Hunter's like, yeah, it's all good, then I think we have to say like, yeah, it's all good. So it was a bad hit. It was a 15-yard penalty. Let's move on. Let's quit let's stop with the death threats. Okay.
Agreed.
All you listeners sending death threats, please stop.
Yeah.
I'm sure so many of you are. On the field, 21-point underdog here. I like Oregon. Bo Nix has not been stopped for the entire season. Even the Texas Tech game, they figured out ways to move the ball up and down the field. They need to finish drives better. But on the field, again, it's so hard to analyze Colorado because like Oregon looks better at everything. They look better at every position. They're at home. I don't like this is it's one thing to beat Nebraska. It's one thing to beat Colorado State. It's another thing to beat TCU. This seems like a different level of competition for Colorado.
Agree. I think it is a different level of competition. Also, if you're Colorado, no one expects you to win again. You're sort of just going on the road, playing with house money. No, I mean, nothing to lose.
Circle the wagons.
Can play loose. I think the concern for Colorado is, so if we just talk about them like in the big picture, obviously Shedeur Sanders has been awesome. Travis Hunter has been great, but he's not going to play on Saturday. They're averaging just 2 yards per carry this season. They've also allowed 16 sacks. That's a real problem. Like at some point that will catch up with you. And Oregon by far is the best team that they've played this season. Now, Colorado has done a good job of scheming around some of their offensive line and defensive concerns. This might just be the game that it all catches up with them, though. Oregon's just on a different level, tough road environment. I think Colorado is going to score. I think the problem is Oregon is just going to be relentless in scoring a little bit more on Saturday.
Yeah, this feels like one of those like old school Big 12 scores, like 51-31 or something like that, Maybe Colorado. I think Colorado. I'd probably pick Colorado to cover, but Oregon to win fairly easily.